Good evening. I would like to call the governing board meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District to order on Wednesday, February 19th at 7 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, so I ask that you kindly turn off or silence your cell phones. Members of the public are welcome to speak to the board on an agenda-ized items or during public comment for items that are not on the agenda. If you do wish to speak to the board, please kindly fill out a blue speaker card that you'll find located at the back of the room. Tonight we do have two very special groups of students with us. I would first like to welcome Principal Bogle and her students from Altamont Elementary. Students, I would invite you to the podium or to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board President Boulay, board members, and Dr. Nicholas. Tonight I'm really excited to have these students present to you. This was an idea that Ms. Goins and I thought of, I guess, over the summer at the end of last year, and it's really a spin-off of ASB. This is our RISE Leadership Elective that has several different subcommittees, and they are going to share all of that information with you.
Good evening, board members.
This is a presentation brought to you by our inspiring leaders at RISE.
Let's get right into it.
RISE's purpose is to create the leaders of tomorrow, as well as inspire others and give them a source of self-confidence. RISE is a place to share ideas and collaborate with others while working on leadership skills. These skills are desperately needed in today's world.
As we go about the beginning of a new era, all of our RISE students submitted a personal definition of what leadership means to them. We put all of them together, and this is what we created. Leadership is the ability to guide and inspire a group by being a positive role model who is kind, respectful, and supportive. A leader listens to others' opinions, helps people achieve their goals, and encourages them to do the right things, ultimately fostering growth and success for everyone involved.
Hi, my name is Tejas Sharapur, and I'm representing the Entrepreneurship and Business Committee. This group works on projects that encourage creative problem solving and entrepreneurship, such as starting a small business or designing innovative solutions to school-wide problems. This group takes the charge for any and all entrepreneurial advances of the school, from selling food at the school dance to selling ice cream every Friday. It fosters leadership through creativity, risk-taking, and innovation. The end goal of our group is to prepare its members for entrepreneurial leadership in the future.
Hi, good evening, board members. My name is Callie Davis, and I am representing the mental health group. Our group focuses on promoting mental health education and awareness at our school. We organize events for mental health awareness, create peer support groups, or collaborate with counselors to develop wellness initiatives. We try our best to teach students about being kind and standing up for others who seem to be hurt, and most importantly, for themselves. We are here to help them to be the best version of themselves without worrying about having to fit into certain standards, basically giving them a free space to be who they are.
Good evening, board members. My name is Aisha Ovi, and I'm representing the Mentorship Committee. The Mentorship Committee is focused on helping and supporting our community of students. Older students can be paired with younger students as mentors, helping them navigate challenges like academic stress or social issues, building leadership through empathy and guidance. This committee focuses on teaching students effective conflict resolution techniques, helping to mediate disputes not only between peers but also in group settings such as school clubs or sports teams. This program also helps new students, giving them guides around the school and helping them get adjusted.
We are excited to have launched this class at Altamont this year and are looking forward to seeing its growth. We would love to have you all come and visit to see for yourself.
Thank you so much for your valuable time. Do you guys have any questions?
What time of the day is your class taught?
It is 9:45 or it's 9:30 to 8:55. It's around that time.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Yes, so great job on the 3 committees that you have formed. And when do those committees meet?
They usually meet around like every morning, like during the class time.
Okay.
We all like discuss, and then we break off into our committees to like plan new activities and new events, and then Ms. Goins checks up on our groups to make sure that we're always on task and always doing what we need to do.
Awesome, thank you. I would definitely love to visit and see the committees work. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you.
Can I ask, I'd love to just know more about the structure. So you guys have a class that meets 3 days a week, and then how do you guys do outreach or service or engagement with students that aren't in the class through these committees that you guys have?
Well, we have a committee, which is the buddy program, and we had the idea of pairing students with younger students so that they're able to like have someone that they can connect to. And we made posters and like reminders around the school to try and get people involved, as well as promoting things in our Panther Pride News, which is sent throughout the school every Friday.
That's awesome. How'd you guys come up with this?
Miss Goins herself.
A couple months ago, I was at Altamont, and during my site visit, I was fortunate enough to hear one of the presentations from one of the students here, and was very, very impressed. I'm glad to see that this is taken off because it seems like a very organized project and a really amazing way to include the entire school on some very critical topics. So congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job, everyone.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one other student presentation here for tonight, but Altamont students, you're welcome to stay for the next student presentation or the rest of the meeting, but you're also free to go as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our second group of students are from Mountain House High School. They're here with Dr. Auerbach, and they represent the DECA team.
Good evening, President Blais, Dr. Nicholas, members of the board. Thank you guys so much for having us tonight. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of valuable members of our team who we are looking forward to sending to our state competition here in just over a week. And then also looking forward to sending to nationals later this school year in April. Without further ado, we've got our DECA advisor, Ms. Kristen Caldwell, and Kyla and Kavya, who can be presenting to you this afternoon. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. We are so excited to be here today to present and talk about our impact with Mountain House DECA at Mountain House High School. We recently had a lot of accomplishments at our NorCal conference and a lot of accomplishments within our school that we'd love to share with you. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hello, my name is Shaila Padala, so I will be going over our agenda for today. First, we're going to go over some of our recent chapter accomplishments, then we're going to go over our competition recap, before finally going on to our goals for next year, and then just showing a little bit of appreciation for all you guys do for us.
Chapter accomplishments. So moving on to the next slide. So our first biggest accomplishment is our chapter campaigns project. This is a campaign that DECA Inc., the international organization, encourages chapters to do at the local level, where we participated in community service campaigns and promotional campaigns involving member recruitment initiatives and where we participated in different marketing initiatives. The community service campaign, we led a sock drive where over 70% of our chapter helped donate socks to the McHenry House. And by competing in both of these campaigns, we were able to successfully get 2 spots to send members to the International Career Development Conference in Orlando this year, where they will attend the DECA Thrive Academy, where they'll learn to grow in their professional development as well as DECA members to help benefit the chapter in future years. And both of these campaigns are entirely student-led, and we began working on them in August, and they were due a couple of months later, where we had to submit videos and write-ups to DECA, and we were awarded both of these campaigns, allowing us state recognition when we attend our state conference in a few days.
So moving on, next up we're going to be talking about our EBL program, also known as our Emerging Business Leaders. So essentially, our high school chapter has smaller chapters throughout the K through 8 schools where we allow 6th through 8th graders to get exposure to DECA and early involvement so they can build their skills, confidence, leading to greater competitive success during their first year. This year we had 163 members compete, and we had 2 competitions with 7 of the K through 8 schools represented and 23 events offered. Their day started with first their exams, then their competitive events, before finally concluding with some activities and their award ceremony. So moving on is our SBE Gold recertification. So our chapter has a secondary part called our SBE, which is also a class that we offer at Mountain House. So SBE is a student-run store that is an extension of our chapter. For our certification, we created a 20-page written report that details our business operations. And this is our second year being a gold certified chapter, the highest level that qualifies 2 students to attend our international competition.
So overall chapter statistics. So as of 2023, we were the largest chapter in California. Now we were SBE Gold certified as well, first in 2023, and we were recertified this year. And as I mentioned before, we achieved Thrive level, which is the highest level any chapter can achieve in chapter campaigns. And as of this year, we've had around a 68% increase in chapter growth, and we've raised around $1,000 by different food trucks at our school-led competitions and different fundraising initiatives with our members. For our EBL chapter, we, as we mentioned previously, we have around 178 members this year. Last year was the first year our EBL chapter was in existence, and it had 70 members. So just that jump in growth is pretty great, and we're excited to see that grow in next years.
Yeah, so moving on, we have our competition success. So this year we've had 2 competitions so far. We had our mini comp back in October, and we recently had NorCal on January 17th this year. So going into our mini comp, so the day starts off similarly to EBL, where first we have our testing, then we have our role plays and writtens, which are our 2 types of competitive events, with role plays being case studies and writtens being prepared presentations. And then lastly, we conclude with our award ceremonies. So over here we have a photo of the glass. So we give this to our top 3 winners. Then we have our chapter officer teams and state officer teams. And then on side, we also have some testing from the morning. So NorCal tends to have a similar format, as do most DECA competitions, except NorCal is an overnight competition. So on day 1, we have our testing. On day 2, we have our competitive events. And then day 3 is our award ceremonies. And we had a total of 140 competitors this year.
So at Minicomp, Minicomp is actually our school-wide competition, and it prepares our members for NorCal. So this year in NorCal, we've actually made history. We've about doubled our competitive success from previous years, with around 85 top 10 overall winners. That means 32 top 3 winners that won first, second, and third place. And 73% of all the events our members competed in, they placed in, ranking us around the 3rd most accomplished chapter at NorCal. Like I said, this is a big jump from previous years, and we're excited to see this at states as well.
So moving on to our plans for next year. So we want to start off the year strong in August by improving our overall chapter performance by starting informational meetings early. So this is so that we can get member engagement and immediately get into competitive preparation by the time we get to October. In October, we want to fundraise a little bit more by hosting more club events and outreaching for sponsorships. In November, we want to improve workshops and career development for all members, regardless of NorCal qualification. We want to make sure that even members who don't qualify to the next level can continue to improve their competitive success. And then in December, we want to boost engagement on our social media to have 700 plus followers. Recently, this year, we hit 500 followers a few weeks ago, so we want to continue the growth with an average of 100 plus likes on all posts.
Now, with all of our competitive success, DECA also helps our members with their professional and business development, preparing them for any future careers in business or any other field. As I'm sure you guys are well aware, the skills of business, public speaking, critical thinking, all of those 21st employability skills can be applied in any area. And that is one thing that CTE education is all about. So again, skill development, pathways to higher education. So CTE helps students get curious about different careers. And within DECA, we actually hold different workshops. We connect with different businesses. So a big part of our fundraising aspect is getting sponsorships. So this year, our officer team developed a partnership packet where we came up with a sponsorship scheme where we offer different packages to different businesses, where T-Hub actually donated around $400 for our gold package, where we provided them marketing opportunities in return. Now, networking opportunities. So this is a big part of professional career development, and DECA's conferences is a really, really great opportunity for these members to network. So with our state conference, our international conference, our members are meeting people from all around the world, and they get to attend different career development workshops with professionals in the field. So for example, last year at States, I attended an accounting workshop where I met the head of a national accounting firm, and I got that connection. And connecting into that real world experience. So our competitive events are actually, it goes beyond just an exam. So our exams talk about, those industry terms, the industry terminology, but our role play events are actually real MBA case studies where members are tasked to come up with a solution on the spot within 10 minutes prep time and present it in a professional manner. Same thing with writtens, they are tasked to create a professional and technically formatted report, which can range from around 10 to 20 pages, like a marketing campaign or even a startup entrepreneurship plan. And this really prepares them for those real world experiences. So thank you again so much. That concludes our presentation. And again, we are so excited to be here to share how DECA has had an impact at Mountain House High School and our plans for future years. As I mentioned, we're attending our state conference next week, and we'd love to come back and share about our accomplishments for that. And we will be attending internationals in Orlando this year. And Mountain House DECA has been improving from over the past years. I remember in my freshman year, we were a very, very small chapter, and now we are one of the biggest. So thank you so much, board members. Have a great evening. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a comment. That was an excellent presentation. I mean, I don't think that a lot of grown-ups in their professional capacities could make that kind of presentation. And I just want to say the one thing that impressed me the most about your presentation was that you were talking about a strategic plan to grow the club. So it was beyond yourself and what could it do for you. You were thinking about the club and benefiting the school for years to come. And that is something that is the mindset of a leader and someone that's going to make a difference. And I'm just really impressed with that. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Yeah. I'll echo everything I think Trustee Olson said. I have questions and I've got comments. What do you guys sell at the store? The store? You guys mentioned that you guys run a store. What's sold at the store?
At the store, we sell a variety of things. So we mostly do retail merchandising. So we have different apparel like spirit wear. We recently bought some, trinkets that we're selling. And in general, we just have different items. And we also have a vending machine. So in general, as the store, we manage these different goods and selling and operations, marketing. And we recently also launched a new subcategory of our store. So this one's called our Mustang Print Store. So we take orders from people across the community to custom print designs and logos onto different goods. Yeah.
Well, you guys are insane. Okay, that's awesome. I would love at some point, I think you guys mentioned you have a 20-page business report. If there's a way or a website that I could read that, I'd love to geek out on that. Your competition success is ridiculously impressive. So congratulations to you guys and the entire all the students that participate to get 73%, I think, that
Yes.
placed in a competition is crazy high, blows my mind. Do you guys know what the rule of 40 is at all? So when venture capital firms are looking at companies to acquire, they either look for 40% increase in revenue year over year or 40% growth rate in customers. And I think your numbers speak volumes to how many students you had last year to this year, both on the 6th to 8th grade side of the program, I forgot the exact name, and then also in the high school level, you said from your freshman year to senior year. So even from like objective statistics and criteria that are used out in the real world, you guys are killing it. So you guys are doing a really, really good job. Kudos to you guys. I kept looking around looking for the teleprompter. You both presented so well and spoke so eloquently without having I don't think you guys have note cards. You guys were just looking straight at us. Really, really good job. You guys should be really proud of yourselves. Your parents should be proud of you guys. That was excellent. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up, the case studies, if there's an opportunity for community members to be involved in those case studies and workshop those with you, I would love to sign up with those. I don't know how many people know. I have an MBA. I got hired through my company's business kind of program. I'd love to do more engagement with this group. You guys are crazy impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so on those case studies, we actually open up our judging to community members. So we have our mini comp, which is usually in October. We just had our EBL mini comp, which they have 2 different mini comps throughout the year. And we seek judges from the community, so professionals. The only requirements are you need to be an adult with a job. And for our...
What was the second one?
You need to have a job.
Have to have a job. Okay.
Yes. And for our EBL competition, our high schoolers actually serve as mentors. And you mentioned earlier the rule of 40. Within DECA, we have around 5 different career clusters. So finance, entrepreneurship, marketing, personal finance, business administration, hospitality, and tourism. So our members get to compete in 1 or 2 of these clusters and explore them. So you're really, able to dive into whatever you're interested in and get those terminology. So I myself compete in marketing, Shyla in personal finance. So it's pretty cool. And about those case studies, so they are taken from MBA curriculum. So currently our students are studying them for states, and it's real world stuff. So thank you so much for your appreciation.
Of course. Congratulations.
Any other comments from the board?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I have a question on the EBL. So you mentioned as compared to last year, this year we have more interested kids. So how do you have a program where you coach the EBL kids, or how is the process? Can you explain?
So we tend to have bi-weekly meetings where we coach the EBL kids. So they come over after school from, I believe, 4:15 until 5:30, and they get to learn more about their different competitive events, and they have high schoolers mentoring them. So that's how they grow their skills. And we also have access to DECA Plus, which is a professional resource given by DECA. So the middle schoolers also have access to this, which they can use to learn more about their different career clusters and events to prepare for competitive success.
Awesome. Thank you so much for explaining. And again, I want to echo all my fellow trustees' comments. And I also mentioned I met you guys outside. So great job on your accomplishments, and looking forward to wishing you more success in the state and international. I also want to appreciate your patience in explaining every detail that you presented. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say, great job, congratulations on your successes, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you so much.
And as you were going through your presentation, I had primarily one word in my head, and that was wow. Wow for the organization of the presentation, how well you spoke, and how accomplished the team is. And I've seen the statistics on social media on the successes, but I never really knew much about DECA. I knew it was kind of business oriented. So this actually gave me a better picture of the different subgroups and different topics that are included. So thank you so much, and congratulations. Good luck at states and nationals and internationals and I don't know, whatever else you have. So good luck. And thanks for being here. Thanks for reaching out to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Item 3, roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay.
Here.
Vanita Daniel.
Here.
Samik Modi.
Here.
Stephanie Olson.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Devika Vitolani.
Here.
Item 4, approval and or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Pombo and seconded by trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item 5, committee reports. Item A, District Advisory Committee, that's me. There's nothing to report. Item B, District English Language Advisory Committee, trustee Modi.
Nothing to report other than the next meeting is April 17th at the Professional Development Center.
Thank you. Item C, Education Committee, trustee Pombo.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item D, Facilities Committee, trustee Olson.
Yes, the Facilities Committee met last Thursday here in the boardroom, and we discussed the usage reports, the financial reports, and then we got an update on the water fill station. Mr. Harrison shared his update about the cost of units and that there's a water fill station in plan for Bethany and Wickland in the works. And we discussed, Director Dixon discussed how groups with excessive late payments are receiving letters, and that is ameliorating the problem that we have had with those. And then Mr. Harrison gave an update on the cost of field recovery. He shared that the grass on the field has gone dormant and gave past, current, and future plans for reseeding and fertilization of the field. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Item E, Policy Committee, trustee Daniel.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item F, Safety Committee, trustee Pombo.
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. And item G, Wellness Committee, trustee Olson.
Yes, the Wellness Committee met on February 12th at 3:45 p.m. in the Professional Development Center. And all sites gave an update on their continuing wellness practices, which are great in detail. And we discussed the 2025-2026 DARE options for the district and what direction the district will go, getting feedback from all of the relevant parties and stakeholders. And then there was the wellness plan was discussed that, they're finalizing those by February 26th, and flyers are going out for the farmers market on February 29th.
Can I ask a question from the Facilities Committee report? Is this appropriate time to do it?
Yeah.
I know there was a gentleman, I think maybe 1 or 2 board members ago, that wanted more clarification, I guess, around the process to reserve facilities and maybe a change in the process that was done. Was that discussed at all, or?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
A couple board meetings ago, there was a gentleman who showed up and during public comments asked about the process to reserve facilities, and I guess some sort of change or previous change in the process. Was that gentleman, I think the advice to that gentleman was to go to the Facilities Committee. Do you know if he showed up, or was that discussed at all?
So unfortunately, Director Dixon isn't here tonight, but he was directed by Mr. Harrison to reach out to that individual.
Okay.
I don't have any idea what the result was, but usually in those situations, it's just understanding how the system works.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Item 6, Governing Board Reports. Student Board Member Vitolani.
Good evening, everyone. So starting off with ASB updates, we have ASB elections coming up very soon next week, and we can't wait to see all of the promising candidates as well as their competitive elections as usual. We also have the MHHS Juniors Car Show coming up, and it's an extremely exciting fundraiser and a great opportunity for all students and community members to bond. We also have our Blacklight Rally, which is always our most exciting rally, as well as a multicultural rally this year. And this multicultural rally will take place after school from 5:30 to 7 p.m. For club updates, Speech and Debate has its state qualifiers competition this weekend, and we wish them the very best of luck. For mock trial, we've had competitions for the past 4 weeks, and Mountain House has successfully made it into the top 4. So we have our final competitions this weekend, and we are wishing all the students a very best of luck. And NTHS held a Pathway Internship and Opportunity Fair last night for future Mustangs, and they will also be holding another one on the 25th. Black Student Union is holding a game night available for all community members on Friday at 4 p.m. And that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pombo.
Yes, on February 6th, I attended the aforementioned Facilities Committee meeting. On February 7th, I had the pleasure of attending the Mountain House High School Department Awards, where my granddaughter, Zoe Pombo, won a Marvelous Mustang Award. I was very proud of that. And on the 18th, I attended the LSF meeting where we discussed the upcoming annual auction dinner. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
Thank you, Trustee Boulay. Just pulling up my report. On February 6th, I attended the Facilities Committee meeting, as already mentioned in my report. And on February 12th, I attended the Wellness Committee meeting. On that same day, I attended the City Council meeting and reported to the district on behalf of the Lammersville Unified Board of Trustees. And it was a very exciting time to share the enrollment numbers with them. And I had to brag on Trustee Pombo as well for his selection as president of the San Joaquin County School Boards Association. And I also attended the finals for the middle school basketball teams at the high school. And the middle school basketball games are kind of exciting and fun. And what a great opportunity they had at the high school. And I just wanted to conclude my report by wishing our student trustee all the luck in the world, because I know she's part of that successful mock trial team. And I hope you all will come back victorious.
Thank you so much.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Modi.
February 7th, I attended the high school department awards with my several of my fellow board members. I thought it was, really nice to see awards given out, not just for top of the class and academic achievements, but also involvement in class, being a good role model. So that was my first award ceremony at the high school that I had attended. So it was a lot different than I remember when I was in high school, and it was always just the same kids who got up 7 times because they got, they were top of the class for every class they were in. So I appreciate the effort that goes into picking those students and identifying them and awarding those recognitions to them. Just on a personal note, I'm starting to look into the Masters of Governance courses offered by the CSBA. And then lastly, I just want to thank the staff. I know I continue to ask a lot of questions when I get the agenda packets, and I know Dr. Nicholas probably sends those out to you guys, and then you guys all get them back. So I appreciate the time and effort that you guys are taking to respond to me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Daniel.
Thank you, President. On February 7th, I attended the high school's department awards, and it's definitely a special award event, as Trustee Modi mentioned. And I would like to congratulate the students first, but appreciate the teachers who took their time to write such kind words in appreciation of the student. And on Feb 12th, I attended the Wellness Committee meeting. On Feb 12th evening, I attended the Loving Solutions Parent Project session. So this was talked about during the Wellness Committee meeting. And I wanted to go and actually be part of that project and just be a parent, a community member, to experience what we are approving and what we are hearing about. So I did understand that the mission is to develop parent training programs for parents raising strong-willed or out-of-control children, and they are committed to providing highly effective programs. And this particular Loving Solutions was for ages 5 to 11 years. And it's a 2-hour evening session. So when I went there, I sat along with the parents in one of the table, and we did a 2-hour session. It was kind of like partner work, and also we did group effort where we talked about, okay, how would we handle this? What are the things? How would we say I love you to our kids other than just the words I love you? And those were things which I took back after the Loving Solutions project, and there was such great parent involvement. Everybody was, actually one parent commented that I really like this time because I'm able to vent about whatever I have back at home. So they really, really appreciated the program. And after the program, I got to talk to one parent, and she mentioned that she also attended the parent project for adolescents, and she spoke such great things about the program. So it made me feel so happy that we are doing such great things, not just for our students, but also for our parents, and helping with the mental wellness. So there ends my report.
Thank you. For my report, on February 7th, I also attended the Mountain House High School Department Awards, and I want to echo what my fellow board member said about the awards. The whole ceremony was very, very nicely done. It really portrayed the students with some specific information about each of the students and why they received the award. And as Trustee Daniel said, the teachers took some time to write those statements, and it was a great ceremony. On the 17th, I attended the Mountain House High School boys tennis preseason game against Whitney High from Rockland. It's early in the season. I think they only had 1 week to practice before they had this match, but they did well. They won 7-2. Some of the matches were very close. Some of them were tiebreakers, so they played hard, but they're successful, and I hope that's a foreshadowing of what our season's going to hold this year. And then earlier today, I had a site visit at Wickland, so I want to thank Principal Duran for taking the time to walk with me throughout some of the classrooms and seeing some of the great work our teachers are doing. And again, I saw some work on how the impact teams, I hear them the impact teams talked about here at the board, and we approve things for the impact team, so it's nice to see that put into action, because I'm a visual person, so I can hear it, but I understand it better when I see it in action, so that was really special. And that ends my report. Item 7, receiving of public comments. Again, members of the public are welcome to speak to the board at this time on items that are not on the agenda. If you would like to speak to the board, please fill out a blue speaker card at the back and bring it to our executive assistant. Would anyone like to speak to the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will move to item 8, consent items for consideration. Actions proposed for consent are consistent with the approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. Trustees receive board agenda background information in advance of scheduled meetings and are prepared to vote with knowledge on the consent items. Item A, governing board meeting minutes from the regular meeting February 5th, 2025. Item B, contracts under $50,000. Item C, ratification of certificated and classified personnel actions. Item D, updated 2024-2025 fundraisers. Item E, ratification of 2024-2025 inter- and intra-district transfer requests. Item F, ratification of 2025-2026 intra-district transfer requests. Item G, ratification of budget revisions and warrant lists for January 2025. Item H, approval of early high school graduation or reduction of graduation requirements petition for one student. Item I, ratification of school-sponsored overnight trips. Item J, declaration of surplus materials e-waste. And item K, acceptance of donations, $2,000 from Team Elevate 70N7 Inc. to support the Mountain House High School football team, and $25.15 from Marino and Jamie Alia, parents of a former student, from the student's lunch account to the food services department. Would any member of the board like to pull any of these items for discussion or special consideration?
Move to approve consent items for consideration.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Pombo, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Madam Clerk, would you please do the honors?
Yes, we would like to welcome the following new employees to the Lammersville Unified School District family. Carolyn Good, special education teacher. Sanjita Rangachari, noon duty supervisor. Razia Sultana Sheikh, noon duty supervisor. Pooja Stavavarma, instructional aide. And Alicia Uchiyama, self-contained classroom teacher. Welcome to our district.
Thank you. Item 9, district administrative reports. A, superintendent's report.
Yes, we have one short, exciting announcement and then a presentation that goes along with the theme of the last few meetings of we're building the plane while flying it, and we want to explain to the board a very important process that protects our money, classroom space, and is also prudent fiscally. So first, I have a special assistance this evening with this next announcement, and we're going to tag team to make this work beautifully. So first of all, we wanted to have congratulations to the Mountain House High School students who participated in the 66th annual San Joaquin County STEAM Fair. We did very well. Again, it was a SJCOE event. This is the 66th time they've done it. There were individual, group, and whole class projects, and there were more than 600 students who participated from 38 schools, and I'm proud to say that we did quite well. So what I'm going to do with my great partner, student trustee Vitulani, is I'm going to read the name of the project, and she's going to read who the student was. So I got to put my glasses on because a couple of these are dissertation level titles. So in first place in science, ultra-fast synthesis in bifunctional ruthenium copper nanocomposites via magnetic. And the winner was?
Pranav Sarvanan.
Second place science was a tie. This one was called photosynthesis to photovoltaics, exploring plant-based solar energy. And the winner is?
Kushi Kolte, Abigail Jimmy, and Michelle Vyas.
Machine mindset, tempering the impact of AI attribution on critical evaluation of news media.
Anjana Bharati Raja.
Second place, engineering, Centibot, a novel alternative to robotic bronchoscopy.
Aryan Agarwal.
Third place, engineering, ABT system, affordable Braille translator.
Harmeet Bal.
Leveraging machine learning to predict high temperature superconductors. The first place, sorry.
Brian Forek and Divjaran Singh Gill.
And that was first place in math and computer science. Second place, math and computer science. AI-driven prediction revolutionizing global air quality monitoring.
Harshita Satyanarayan.
And third place, math and computer science. Data-driven solutions in agriculture, machine learning for apple disease classification.
Shrisha Chandrala and Vibhav Chandrala.
And I think that's the best pronunciations I've done in a long time. Okay, I asked Deputy Superintendent Harrison to put together a presentation. How do you take 8,000 kids, spread them out over 9, 10, 11 schools, staff those schools based in a union contract agreement, and Director of HR, Sarah Barrios. How do you do that and make sure that you don't violate the contract, spend your money wisely, and have the best student-to-teacher ratio possible with a minimal number of combo classes and a minimal number of classes with not enough students? Well, tonight we have one-stop staffing.
What a great introduction. Thank you, Dr. Nicholas. Board President Boulay, trustees, thank you for having me tonight. Many moons ago, Dr. Nicholas came to me and said, I have gathered these paper napkins, and I would like you to take all these paper napkins, put them together, and give us a process. So at the end of gathering those paper napkins and looking at our processes as it comes to hiring, we came up with one-stop staffing. Now, one-stop staffing is our process for hiring individuals to work in Lammersville Unified School District. Who is involved in staffing? Well, it's a multifaceted group that is involved in hiring staff, both certificated, classified, and unrep in Lammersville Unified School District. This is in no order of importance. Just want to make that noted. Student Services provides enrollment counts by school site and at the high school. The enrollment counts help us to discern what the FTEs required, full-time equivalent employees, are required by school site or by content area at the high school. Human Resources does recruitment, hiring, and they're in charge of making sure our teachers are credentialed appropriately to teach our students. The business department keeps everybody in line with FTE fiscal control, full-time equivalent teachers. Business makes sure that we are not exceeding the total FTE for the district without going through a process to approve more FTE with Dr. Nicholas and go through cabinet. Business also at One Stop Staffing has now begun to give a preliminary budget to each school site so they know what their budget is going to be for the following school year. Administrative Services Department kind of organizes the whole thing, overall staffing, make sure that we have the facilities for all the different sections that we have approved in our staffing meetings, and make sure that we have the funds and the facilities to embark on any new programs that the district may be heading towards. School sites have a role in that they have to make sure that they have hired the appropriate content or grade level teachers that have left our district. We have mobility in education a lot more than we did 20 years ago. Obviously, HR helps with that decision-making process to ensure that the right teachers are in the right schools and the right grade levels. And then Ed Services and Technology, they are kind of the final part of rostering students into all of our curriculum, making sure we have the correct curriculum materials from the warehouse to the school sites if you're adding a section. And then the technology department, make sure we have devices and all of the student information rostered so that students, when the first day of school comes, they have access to all of our content and curriculum. So that's just a thumbnail sketch of all the individuals involved in staffing. What influences staffing? So the first thing that influences staffing are our enrollment, the kids coming to our schools, being enrolled in school. And when we are looking at enrollment, we look at actual numbers, and we also look at the numbers in Aries error, because Aries error is the part where somebody has done a partial enrollment, they maybe don't have all the paperwork yet, or it's not completed yet, or they're in a holding pattern. That's important because those are potential students coming into our system. Now, they don't always come in, but we have to plan considering those students because, as you all know, we're a growing district and it's a constant battle to figure out how many kids are going to be here month to month. Okay? The other thing that is a delimiter is our contract with LTA. That's our Teachers Association. We have an agreement with LTA that our high school won't have more than 35 students per class. Grades 4 through 8, 32 students. Grades K through 3, 24 students. And TK, 20 students per class, and that's a state law. And then the other thing that drives enrollment is balloting. At the high school, students ballot to elect classes that they want to take during their elective time slots. High school students staff with their feet. If they want to go into, if we have 450 students that want to go into HOSA, our desire is to allow 450 students to go into HOSA. It can't always happen. It might be 420 because the students don't come in round numbers, right? And you staff to 35 students in a class. We're not going to have a HOSA class that has 5 students, right? So that's the dance that we have with staffing, to balance the numbers, know who's coming in, create the classes, fill the classes, and then hopefully we have enough room for growth because we have about 100 students per year, 150 students per year that come into our system after we've staffed. So we have to accommodate for that as well. And then lastly, specialized programs. If we're going to start a new program on the high school campus or in a 7-8 classroom, we have to make sure that there's a classroom that's appropriate to the elective or the class, that we have the proper machinery, and that we have the properly credentialed teacher. So that's a 2,000-foot view of what we do for staffing. I'm going to have Sarah come up, and she's going to explain some of the intricacy of some of the forms that we use to help us discern what's coming and what we have to staff our different classes at moving forward.
Good evening, President Boulay, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. I'm going to be talking about the hiring timeline that we go through each spring. So I'm going to orient you to the top left-hand corner of the screen, and you'll see we start with projections. So staffing really starts in early February when we meet with student services, special education, and business to look at the enrollment numbers that have come in as of that date. And we start to plan for staffing at that point. We'll see if there have been any increases and what classes we need to add or where staff needs to be reallocated to different sites. And then, of course, as Deputy Superintendent Harrison said, we also are looking at the budgeting aspects, so we want to make sure business is always there. We do this, again, for planning, but also in preparation to meet for one-stop staffing meetings with our principals. So that typically happens at the beginning of February, and then toward the middle to the end of February, we meet with each site and we talk about any changes that we can see at that point in the year. We also take that opportunity to talk to each of the principals to see if they've heard about any resignations or retirements that may be coming, and then any internal staffing changes that they may have, or any leaves of absence that would be helpful for HR in planning for staffing. And then one of the most important things that we do that we started initiating a couple of years ago is on March 1st, we send an intent to return form to all certificated teachers. On that form, teachers can indicate to us if they intend to return to their position of the current year or if they're going to retire or resign. And all of these meetings between the increased enrollment and the resignations that we get informed through the intent to return help to start those conversations with the next one-stop staffing meeting in preparation for the rest of the hiring. So once we have about 75% of those intent to return forms, we get in the first 2 to 3 weeks, right? People are ready there. Yes, I'm coming back. And then we will get the trickle in of some of the resignations and retirements. So then we have a better idea of when we meet with the principals of what vacancies we're going to need to fill. And we will continue the conversations looking at whether or not maybe we need to add a third grade if there's a shift in grade levels and reduce a second grade. And the principals using that information, it will move into the transfer process that we have up here, which is principals then can make internal transfers of teachers so that they have the best teacher teaching at the best grade level for collaboration and for instruction and for those other various needs at the site. And then with all of the vacancies that we've been able to collect, we, per the LTA contract, on April 1st, we send a vacancy list out to all of the teachers with all of the vacancies at the site. And provided that the teachers meet the criteria that are delineated in the contract, they have an opportunity to change sites, to transfer to different sites. That process typically takes about 8 to 10 days to complete. And once that process is complete, then we start hiring in earnest. We do a group interview, typically the second week of April, and we really begin to hire and onboard new teachers for the fall. Throughout the spring, we attend hiring fairs. So we always go to the Stanislaus State Teacher Recruitment Fair in February, but our big one is typically the Teachers College Educator Hiring Fair at San Joaquin County Office of Ed. In those two recruitment fairs, we will collect applications and then we'll invite those candidates to the interviews. Throughout the entire hiring season, student services and HR routinely meet to evaluate the enrollment numbers, to look at what new enrollments have come in, whether or not we need to add TK classes, whether or not there needs to be a change or reallocation of staffing. This is Bethany. As you can see, there's a table like this for each of the sites. So you'll see it'll show the current enrollment numbers. Those are rolled from the year before. And then as you move over, you'll see the Aries Air that Deputy Superintendent Harrison was talking about. Those are pending. And then when you move over to overflow, those are students attending Bethany that are overflowed from other schools. And then looking at the next column, you'll see proposed staffing. That's actually it's a formula. It's a recommended number of teachers based on the class size that was negotiated in the contract. And then moving all the way over, you'll see total seats. That's typically the number of seats available in a particular grade level, or in some cases, it may be the number of students that a site is not able to accommodate that may result in an overflow to another site. So again, we use this information throughout the hiring season to inform a very fiscally prudent and try to be proactive in staffing. One of the tools that we use, this is a one-stop staffing sheet. So as we go through our one-stop staffing meetings, this sheet is one that we work with the principals to inform them of what changes in the changes in staffing. So as you can see, this would be the number of teachers that are at each site. It would show maybe a potential resignation or an assignment change that needed to be complete for an internal transfer that maybe needed to have the process completed, or if there's a teacher on there that needs to complete something for their credential. That's going to be reflected on these sheets. And we, again, use these to inform our staffing needs throughout the hiring season. And again, there's one for each of the school sites. This is for classified. It shows very similar information. However, in contrast to certificated teachers, classified hiring tends to be more ongoing. It doesn't have a hiring season in the same way. But we do use this, the staffing sheet with principals to project staffing and to fill vacancies. So with all of the things that we do, again, we use all of the processes and the tools that I've shown you to be fiscally prudent and proactive to make sure that we have qualified teachers for our students in the fall. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just a couple closing comments. So Student Services Division, HR Division, who take the lead on staffing, one of the most important things they do is accuracy. You need to be accurate in the number of teachers you hire, because if you're off by 3 teachers, that's over $300,000 that you're not accurate in your budget. So both Irene Busatil and Sarah Barrios both do a really good job, and their teams do a great job of making sure that all of the information that is gathered and used at our one-stop staffing is accurate. The most important thing is that's accurate during that meeting. And they do a great job of making sure that all the information is accurate so that we can make decisions in that meeting moving forward for what we need at individual school sites. So one-stop staffing is more of an art than it is a science, but it's just as much science as it is art. And so our team does a great job of making sure we have the right teachers in the right classroom at the right time. Thank you. Any questions?
I've you guys call it one-stop staffing, but it almost seems like it's like an octagon. And if you pull any one of those points out or change the value there, it's going to affect all the other points. And it's this constant game. In my head, I'm thinking of like these brain teasers where, you pull on one and the others fall apart. So commending the staff on being able to make all these puzzle pieces fit and work year over year. And throughout the year as numbers change, so you guys do a great job. I was also surprised to hear that you described all these steps, and then you said, and then we get to April. And you basically said it starts on March 1, and then a whole bunch of stuff happens before mid-April. And so just the amount of things that you guys are keeping track of in a very relatively short period of time is commendable. So you guys, good luck as that time period now is coming upon us, but thank you for all the work that you do there. Let me see if I got more comments, and then I'll ask questions. Do we know our class sizes against other districts, or how do we compare? I know that gets talked about a lot in the community.
Our class sizes are pretty standard when it comes to the TK-8. Like I said, TK is basically set by the California legislature. Sure. But our other class sizes are pretty standard. Our high school sizes are comparable to other high schools in the area. Contracts are different depending on what the contract reads. Some school districts may have 37 students in their high school classes, but don't allow any overages. In our contract, we allow overages, so teachers get paid for each individual student that they go over at the high school and in the middle schools. So that's a nice flexibility we have, because our union understands that we're a growing district, and sometimes we need to be flexible that way.
That's great. It's great to have that partnership. You guys have talked about planning for current students, and then also having to plan for expected students as we grow the 150 throughout the year. I just want to make sure I'm assuming this is the fact, but confirmation would be helpful. When we plan for the students and plan at the beginning of the year or plan for the next year, any student who wants to be, especially in the high school, we're not holding any spots for a future student, right? So we would guarantee, if we have the space, a current student gets a spot, right? Okay. Do we track regrettable turnover? So a teacher that says on March 1st, I'm not coming back, and we thought they were great. Do we track from like a benchmarking status or percentage status of how many of our certificated staff that we would love to have back choose not to return?
I don't know. Do we have that? I think we have it for the last couple of years.
Okay.
Because we always ask in their resignation, often they'll put in their resignation moving or whatever the case may be. And so that's a internal form that we have for all the staff that leave. So yeah, we could pull that information out. One thing I can tell you is teaching used to be really stable. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and Dr. Nicholas longer than me. And
by a minute.
It used to be that a teacher would come in and that teacher was there.
Sure.
Right? But with the mobility of society, it's changed a lot for teaching too. Teachers are willing to move pretty readily because there's so many jobs out there. We have a shortage of teachers in California, and they're not afraid to move. So to answer your question, yes, we track. We have the information. When they go, we're immediately trying to backfill. That's our primary objective.
Yeah, what I was, in my head where I'm going is if we track the data and we see that, hey, this number is trending upwards, let's say for whatever reason, right? And then to your point, it could be external factors, it could be other things, but it also could be a moment of reflection to say, is there anything that we could do differently so that number stays lower or more controllable, right? Every time we have turnover, we take a risk on a new teacher. Yep. It creates more rearrangement, within our staffing. So obviously, to get to a more stable staffing solution would be great, right? It'd probably reduce a lot of the work that exists today. So that's where I was going with the question. And then this is probably for my own education. As you talked about moving teachers, or the principals can move, which grade teachers are fungible with other grades and which ones are not?
So we try to keep teachers within the grade level in which they've shown the most success. So if you're a lower grades teacher, let's say K through 3, we try to keep teachers in that realm within, if they were a second grade and they showed good success and we needed to move somebody to third grade, we'd move them to third grade. We don't often move teachers from second to, let's say, 8th grade. That's a big change, the standards, the curriculum, everything like that. So we try to keep teachers within a realm of their content, what curriculum they've taught. It doesn't always work, but that is our desire.
Okay, that helps. And then the last question I had is, even what's on the screen now, it's a lot of Excel, right? I saw a lot of Excel, and Excel's great, but it's also manual and requires, a lot of attention because you can make mistakes and so forth. So I don't know the answer to this, but I think as the district is growing and continues to grow, maintaining manual processes and Excels are hard. It gets harder and harder. And so I don't know if there's ed tech tools that are out there that help do some of this work, but it might be something to start looking into if we haven't already, because it's great for now, and maybe it's worked up until now, but anytime you scale, it just becomes harder and harder to maintain in Excel.
I have a work group that I'm working on for exactly that in a variety of our divisions, business, HR, et cetera.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Great job again.
I'd just like to piggyback on something that Trustee Modi said about the amount of work that happens between the end of February and the middle of April. There's a lot of moving parts, but and this is more for anybody that's watching this meeting out there, there is a lot of work, a lot of moving parts, a lot of decisions being made, but those decisions don't start in February nor end in April. They're an ongoing thing. We have students coming and going, we have teachers coming and going, and so all those moving parts have to be taken into account year-round. And so I'd just like to commend everybody involved in the work that it takes to keep kids in the classrooms, keep teachers in front of the kids. And I know we get a lot of complaints about, I moved here and my kid can't go to the school that's across the street from my house. Well, in a perfect world, that wouldn't be the case, but this is an imperfect world, and I think that our district does a really, really good job of minimizing the inconvenience to families and students. So thank you all for that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what you just said too, and kind of it speaks to one of your questions, Trustee Modi, when you asked, about the class sizes in comparable districts. And I can say that I'm quite frankly amazed that our district, in a growth district, is able to maintain that contract language of 24 or fewer students in those K through 3 classes, which I think is phenomenal for our students. And they're very fortunate to have that, because neighboring districts have kindergarten classes with 30 students in them. So because they don't have that contract language. And so being in a growth district and doing that kind of work is not easy. And so I just appreciate that, because I know it's what's best for our students. So thank you for all the work that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees that gets that done.
I have a question, and first of all, thank you for sharing the process. This Excel sheet, I'm just trying to understand this Excel sheet. So the POS means, is it an ID?
Say again, please.
The POS, is it an ID? The ID of the...
Yeah, that's a position number.
Position. Yeah, thank you. And my question would be, so let's say during April, classified teacher leaves 6th grade, and then we have a long-term sub coming in place. So where do we track, or how are we tracking the staffing of the long-term sub, or do we include that as part of this process?
She has sheets for every school site, so we know what's vacant and what's not vacant. What's in the hiring process and what is not in the hiring process, what has gone through an interview process and filled a position or not, and we have to go back out for an interview process. We know every school site to the person for both classified and certificated at all times during the school year.
Okay, so we do have a log of
yes,
all the long term. Thank you. And okay, so the next question is about when we when we come across new positions, and like last board meeting, we approved, the food buyer, right? So how does the process work? Can you just explain that, please?
Sure. So first it comes as an idea or a proposal to pre-cabinet, and we discuss the position in pre-cabinet. Then we go to cabinet and we discuss with the superintendent's cabinet the position, and then Dr. Nicholas gives us direction on where we're going to go with that position, whether we're going to draw up a job description and bring it to the board for approval, which is the next step. We come to the board, we get approval of the job description. In some cases, we have to go out to LTA or CSEA and get approval or agreement to the job before we come back to advertise. Come back, we advertise the position for a set amount of time, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, depending on the position and what's out there. Once we have a good pool of candidates to interview, we put a panel together, we do interviews, and then from then, if we like somebody, we'll offer, hire, background check, and get them in position.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next one was about I remember, I think last year, I may not be correct on the number of years, but we did approve an automated process to collect the resignations and to maintain the record. Out of curiosity, I just would like to know, how is the automated process working? And did we request for any enhancements from the person who we bought the tool from?
From Informed K-12. So as the board is aware, we've been working on a paperless process for years, right? And so with the introduction of informed K-12, processes across the district have been moved to paperless, and they've all been very effective. They're easy to change if there are revisions that are needed, but specifically to address your question, the resignations, that's been a very smooth process. Employees have found it easy to use, and it's definitely helped with data collection.
Great, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you.
Can I just ask one other quick question? I know this is a whole nother presentation, but what does the contract language say about the class size for special day classes? Is there a limit on those that's different?
We do. We do have agreed upon class sizes for our special day classes, and we're still finalizing that language in negotiations.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll add one thing that just we need to all be prepared for is one of our worries when you have a big project on the south side and a big project on the north side is there's a possibility that the growth won't show up when we start the school year. And if there's a huge number of houses that are being built in multiple parts of the town, there's a possibility that we'll have to add more than normal classes during the course of a school year. So if 30 first graders move in and we are already packed in all the places. And so one of our concerns is that how do we create a mechanism to hire, it's very difficult to hire teachers mid-year. And if we have a large, like 3 or 4 classes we have to start, that's an area. So we have some ideas we're working on. If that hits us, that we're going to be able to address it. But it is something that we've discussed at length, that if there's just a sea of people coming in, I think the most was 600 units in 1 year. Is that correct, Alvina? 691. So imagine if all those people have third grade kids, right? I mean, that's a silly example, but just imagine. And then we go out. So there may be a time that in this, what we're predicting to be a very large growth era, that we might have to face that and there might be some grumpiness. And there's nothing that this wonderful process and these professionals can do about that. But I'm just putting it out there so everybody's prepared if it comes, and we'll do the best we can when it happens.
I would suggest polishing your crystal ball.
Dr. Nicholas,
Crystal ball?
do you when you talk about grumpiness, are you talking about the class sizes or the placement of the students?
All of the above.
Okay.
And then depending on the time of year, grumpiness increases and decreases.
Sure.
So there's multiple factors, but again, it's we bought the house, the school's right there. We don't have any room, and we can't, we have to be fiscally responsible. The county oversees our fiscal prudence, and the state oversees their fiscal prudence of us. So it's not just we really want to do it. I mean, we have to be responsible to many different entities and for ourselves to be able to do it. So we try not to make anybody grumpy. We're human, and it's a bureaucracy, so that's inevitable. But I'm just saying that particular case is a circumstance that is predictable, but we will have everything we can think of to do to prepare for it, but it still could be a wave of some stuff.
So I appreciate that. What I would like to request, or it would be helpful for me, is to better understand the process that we use for moving students, to schools. Or I'll give you the scenario, right? So we got a new student, lives in a neighborhood that let's say they buy a house in College Park. College Park is full. I know it's not, but let's say that class, that grade level is. We send them over to Cuesta for the first year, and let's say they want to stay at Cuesta because they have all their friends there and now they want to stay there. Okay, well now somebody moves into Cuesta, they want to go to Cuesta, and we've maybe told the first student that, okay, we're going to approve your transfer and you'll get to stay. So that whole domino effect of who gets to stay where, and when do I get priority to go to the school that's in my neighborhood, or stay at the school that I've been going to for 4 years because that's where all my friends are at. I think it'd be helpful to understand how those dynamics interact with each other and how we make decisions in those scenarios. So I would love a presentation on that.
All those scenarios happen regularly.
Yeah, no, I know that.
And we have a process, and that can be explained very easily.
Yeah, so I think I would love that at a future board meeting.
Okay, item B, district enrollment report.
Okay, as of today, 8,032 students. We're projecting over 2,500 students at the high school.
Thank you. And item C, District
Alrighty.
Maintenance and Operations Report. Take it away, Director LeGrand.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. First up, I have the operations report from Director Jason Dixon. Custodians have been trying to keep up with the rain and extra clean that comes with it. We've been dealing with water inside and clean areas such as MPR and carpets more frequently due to kids playing inside out of the rain. Third item was we have a couple of civic permits canceled that were outdoors due to the rain. Fourth item is pads came in for the Questa Solar. They're being installed now, and they have no openings at this time in operations. So that's operations report. Speaking of rain, with the recent storm, we have kept the irrigation off across the whole district. Temperatures are supposed to warm up this weekend. I heard maybe low 70s, so we'll evaluate the forecast for the next 5-10 days, see how it goes. I always try, keep the irrigation as long as possible. So we'll try and keep that process going. But if there's no rain in the future, we'll have to turn it back on for at least a couple days a week. Also with the rainstorms, we had a few roof leaks at some of the schools in the south, Wickland, Lammersville, Hanson, Costa. Costa one's under warranty, in case you're thinking about that. So those are being dealt with. The pool has been okay recently. We had a low chemical alarm go off this morning in our construction meeting. I went over after the meeting and 2 of the chemical tanks were too low. I called the company, they're being delivered tomorrow. They have a float in there that's supposed to monitor, let them know when the chemical will come out. It's not working, so I need to fix it. So that's a problem. Both the heaters are working. One of the heat exchangers is cracked. Okay, it's operating now, but it's cracked. It needs to be replaced. It's not going to be cheap. It's going to be $20,000 to $25,000 to replace the heat exchanger on one of the boilers for the pool. Like I said, it's operating now. We could use it for a while, but eventually it's a safety thing. It's got to be replaced. Chemicals, the pH is good. We have a company that comes out, in case everybody knows, twice a month, professional pool company. They check make sure we're doing the right thing. They came out Friday. They sent me a report Friday afternoon. The pool was low on calcium, so I went out Tuesday morning, added some calcium to the pool to bring the levels up on that. Epic interns. We have 4 Epic interns right now. It's been a little tricky with the weather. Sometimes if it's raining on Thursday, we have them Thursday all day. If it's raining, sometimes we leave them at the high school to help out the custodians. If it's a nice day, we take them out with the grounds guys and do things outside in the fields and whatnot. The replacement playground parts that I ordered for Questa, I found out today they're not coming. I was expecting this week or next. They're not coming until the first week of March to the company office, which I believe is in Texas. So it'll take another week probably to get out here from Texas. It comes from overseas, in case anybody didn't know. Updating our projects. The new classroom building at the high school, we had our in-person construction meeting today. Everything's proceeding nicely. Our next meeting is online on March 5th. We're still on schedule for substantial completion at the end of June. So that's going well. The Lammersville kitchen project is substantially complete. We did a punch list walk today. There wasn't money in the budget to epoxy the small storage room, the small office, and the restroom. So our staff did that, and kudos to Maricon, one of my maintenance, he did most of the work. We took care of that ourselves. I didn't want to leave part of the floor done and all 4 different, it didn't match anyways, the color didn't look bad. So we fixed that. Bernie's staff has started moving in. They started moving in yesterday. They moved some more stuff in today. We have a couple shelves to hang, paper towel dispenser, soap dispenser, little things like that. Will be done tomorrow or Friday at the very latest, and then it's all food service after that. So we're done with that. The field at Costa, you may recall we reseeded the field last fall break, and so I walked the field again today. It's filling in pretty good. The soccer field looks real good. This is next to the softball field. The cricket field, the west part of the cricket field has too much broadleaf, too much weeds. So we have to deal with that broadleaf. I talked to the landscapers. We're going to deal with that over the next 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the weather. And then the plan is to reseed that field again during our spring break, which is the 31st through the 4th of March and April. So that's the plan for that field. I want to have it in good standing before it gets really warm, before the heat comes, so it doesn't fry again like it did. So that's the plan moving forward. And for us, we have 2 openings. We interviewed for our lead position. We have a candidate that accepted. He's moving through the process. And then we interviewed yesterday for our admin position. And we recommend someone to move forward in the hiring process on that. So hopefully in the next week or 2, we'll be 100% staffed. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item 10, action items. Item A, consider approval of a contract with Ascend Rehab Services Incorporated for a speech and language pathology assistant for the 2024-2025 school year. Total cost $53,136. Staff report, please.
Yes, this is IEP driven, and we recommend approval.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to approve contract with Ascend Rehab Services Incorporated for a speech and language pathology assistant for the 2024-2025 school year. Total cost $53,136.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Pombo, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item B, consider approval of the 2023-2024 School Accountability Report Cards, SARC grades K through 12. Staff report, please.
Yes, SARCs are a mandate. We provide a template-driven report. It's thorough. It's comprehensive. They're posted on the website. We recommend approval of the SARCs.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to.
I have questions.
Go ahead.
I had asked a bunch of questions about SARCs. I just wanted to make sure that they're kind of documented. I would love an explanation on the professional accountability days. I know I asked about it. If the shows 146 days, which is a lot at first glance. So can you explain how those days are counted and what counts? And I think that number has increased over the last 3 years as well.
So we do a lot of professional development here in the district. Any day that we provide professional development, it is added to the total, and that's how you get to an accumulated total of 146 days. Every one of our K-8 schools, we have the same schedule for PD, so that's why they have 146. The high school has a few more days, and I can't remember what that number was off the top of my head. I want to say 162, but I might be wrong. So anytime you provide, or the district or school are providing PD, it counts as that, and that's how that 146.
So on Friday afternoon, if they have 2 hours of professional development, that counts as 1 day. Is that accurate?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So it's not 2 hours on each day would be 10 hours, and that's 1 day. It's on any day that it's offered, could be for an hour, that counts as a day.
Correct.
Okay. And then the other request I had is, these get posted, and I think you mentioned that there's some state mandate or something to communicate this out. I think there's a lot of good information in this SARC. I had never seen one before myself, so I took the opportunity to go through and try to understand as much as I could. I think it also addresses some of the questions we had during the CASSP test, I don't know, one of them, results where people asked for school-specific data, and this answers a lot of those questions. Right. And I thought it would be a good idea, and if the board would agree with the notion to have principals send out a note to the parents of their school saying, this report is posted on the website. Here's a link. Here's 5 bullet point highlights of it. If there's anything troublesome in there, here's where you can find information on what a plan is to address it. But I do think it drives ownership of the data for each of the school sites, but also increases communication out to the community. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready.
So if the board supports that, I think that's a certainly doable idea. I think it's good for communication.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll open it up to a motion.
Move to approve the 2023-2024 School Accountability Report Card grades K-12.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Pombo and seconded by Trustee Modi, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item C, consider approval of LUSD TK through 8 High School Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, ELAP, and Extended Year ESY Summer School 2025. Staff report, please.
Yeah, so a couple of things. We provide more summer school than is required. It's been an investment by this and past boards. The board should be commended for their commitment to this. So we're recommending approval. We want to run it as we have been. And I think we are addressing the needs of everything from credit recovery to students who might have summer learning loss. And we have a program for students in special ed who have an opportunity to also keep building on their IEP related stuff. So I think, again, it seems like summer school, okay, cool, but most districts don't take it to this level. So we recommend approval of your good job, board.
Move to approve LUST TK-8 High School Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, ELOP, and Extended School Year, ESY, Summer School 2025.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Daniel and seconded by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item D, consider approval of the 2025-2028 Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, the ELOP plan. Staff report.
Yeah, Assistant Superintendent Sharp is going to give a brief overview of the ELOP plan process for the next 3 years.
Good evening, President Boulay, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for having me this evening. This is a recap of ELOP programs, talking about our summer program and the program through the 25-26 school year. Also attached within this is our plan, of course, that's going to span 3 years. So it's our new ELOP plan. So as a reminder, a refresh, the ELOP purpose, expanded learning means before school, after school, summer, or intersession learning programs that focus on developing the academic, social, emotional, and physical needs and interests of pupils through hands-on engaging learning experiences. And our components of ELOP, which are in line with the required components, involve English, math, and science opportunities, the arts, so students have access to music, dance, art, and drama, physical activity, nutrition, and STEM activities. And our focus for ELOP are the unduplicated students in TK through 6th grade. As a reminder, unduplicated students are English learners, free and reduced lunch, homeless, and foster students. The ELOP program focuses on underrepresented groups getting opportunities to grow in their knowledge and understanding of 21st century education as it pertains to enrichment and program opportunities presented in the ELOP program. So the LEA receives entitlement amounts that are based on our unduplicated student or unduplicated pupil counts that are enrolled, and these pupils then receive that priority enrollment. So our current unduplicated student population, TK6, is over 950 students district-wide. Some logistics as it relates to ELOP. For staffing, we have a current pool of ELOP aides and new hires. The state requires that we maintain ratios of TKK 10-1, 1st through 6th grade 20-1 as state requirements. We have lead aides in the summer. We have nurses and food service personnel. Our locations for summer tentative. For the most part, these are approved, but still tentative, of course. Hanson is going to be where our summer school site is, so we will have an ELOP site there. Our Costa students will attend ELOP at Hanson. Altamont will house summer school as Cuesta and Bethany students will attend Altamont, and then Cordis will host Wickland and Lammersville. During the school year, it is located at all sites. The funding for ELOP, it's an ongoing apportionment from the state for ELOP. Funding for 2024-2025 was $1.3 million. And it's important to note that our funding amounts continue to decline. This most recent year, it declined by $200,000. So as of enrollment for summer and 25-26, the first phase we're working on is establishing our interest list. So beginning February 21st through March 2nd, we will establish our ELOP summer school interest list. The sign-up indicates interest in summer program but does not guarantee enrollment. The final enrollment will occur according to phased registration plan, and I will talk about that in a couple of slides, with registration confirmations and regrets being sent out by March 28th, so with enough time for parents to plan accordingly. For the school year program, our interest lists will start March 17th through March 30th. Again, that sign-up indicates interest in the school year program and not a guarantee of enrollment, with final enrollment occurring according to the phased registration plan. And registration confirmation regrets will be sent out by April 28th. So talking about this registration plan, and I have 3 slides related to this just so that it's clear in a process. In the first phase, the focus is on unduplicated students, as is the program designed to do. So that includes our unduplicated students and their siblings. In phase 2, we focus on low-performing students and their siblings. And then phase 3, we go to the general student lottery. So this is a little more detailed breakdown of the slide that I just went over, with a reminder that the summer notification for enrollment will be March 28th, and the fall notification of enrollment will be April 28th. So again, in phase 1, we have our unduplicated students and their siblings. So all unduplicated students in TK through 5th grade and their siblings, which is approximately 950 total students. In phase 2, we'll be looking at our low-performing students and their siblings. And then phase 3 is where we focus on our general student lottery, and there's 4 rounds. In lottery round 1, we focus on the lottery for TK through 2nd grade students. So they will have first priority in that lottery. The second round are the siblings of those TK through 2nd grade students. Lottery round 3 is 3rd through 6th grade students, and then round 4 are the siblings of those students. So a breakdown or a flow chart of how the system works. Phase 1, unduplicated students and siblings. So after we've pulled in and gathered in that first required group, we ask, is space available? If no, enrollment is closed. If yes, we go to phase 2, low performing students and their siblings. Again, the same question, is space available? If no, enrollment's closed. Yes, we go to phase 3 for general student enrollment and then conduct the lottery rounds. So history of our enrollment in ELOP. So in 24-25, starting with summer of 24, okay, so last summer, we had 420 student capacity. Of those 420 students in summer school, 230 were unduplicated students, about 25% of our total unduplicated numbers, with 190 of those students being general students. In 24-25 school year, we have a 500 student capacity. 214 of the students in ELOP are unduplicated, so that's about 22% of total unduplicated, with 254 being our general students. Our plan for 2025-26, in summer 2025, we have our same capacity of 420. We're hoping to increase the offerings to the unduplicated students, to increase that from 25% of unduplicated to 30% of unduplicated, getting us to a 300 unduplicated count and 120 general students. And then for the school year, we still keep it at the 500 capacity, hoping to increase our enrollment opportunities for unduplicated to get again to 30% of total unduplicated, increasing that amount from the 22% in the previous year, still having availability for 200 general students in the program. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned that the funds coming in for the program had dropped by $200,000. Is that because of a change in our numbers or because of a change in the funding from the state?
Change in the funding from the state? Had to phone a friend.
So they lowered their funding level?
Yes.
Sounds like the state.
Yes.
Can I follow up on that question? Is if the funding is decreasing, but we're keeping our total program the same, how are we managing that?
We are still able to do it. Gloria and business services ensures that when we are putting together our proposals, that we can fall within our funds. So it's not encroaching on the general fund.
Okay. That was one of my questions as well. Can you explain that I think it started off with you're presenting a 3-year program or 3-year plan. What what makes it 3 years long, I guess?
So the plan itself that talks about the programs and the offerings within the plan, and it was attached to that is the 3 years. We're saying within 3 years, this is what we're doing. Tonight, I'm presenting that this is what we're doing in the short-term 1-year plan.
Okay. Can you go back up to the slide that showed the one more, I think, before this one? Okay, so can you explain this in a little bit more detail around school sites? So, would we have, for example, more classes for TK through second versus 3rd through 6th based on school site populations? Or how are we, when we, do we already have the classes set and we're doing these phases to fill the set classes? Or do we look at the population that expresses interest and then say, based on that, can you talk a little bit about that?
So you're asking how we determine who we bring into the program based on classes offered? Sorry.
So maybe I should ask a clarifying question. The programs, I think there's certain grades that can be combined for ELOP. Is that accurate? So is it kindergarten and 1st grade? I don't know. I'll make it up. Let's say that's one that's combined. Do we set that, hey, at Hanson, we're going to have 4 of those classes, or we're going to have 2 of them, and then we do the lottery based on how many classes we have available? Or do we look at the interest list, figure out what numbers we have, and then say, you know what, we're going to do 6 of the 3rd through 6th grade classes and only 2 of the 1st and 2nd grade classes, because that's what the numbers drive?
We go off of the interest list and the enrollment numbers, not that we have 2 set kindergarten classes. It's not like a school year where we say we're going to have so many classes per school site.
Okay.
In ELOP, we tend to have more interest at the younger grades. And as the program goes on, the 5th and 6th graders don't want to come anymore, which has helped because when we have attrition and people quit, so there's some flux we need to do within the program numbers there. We would combine TKK because they have the same rule of
ratio.
But 1st grade we would put with 2nd grade, or a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, depending on numbers.
Okay. And so if I look at the 3rd phase, let me ask about 2nd phase. What defines a low performing student?
It would be anyone who's performing on grade level assessments at a certain level, and each assessment has a different criteria. So when you're talking about kindergarten, it could be letter identification, sounds, how they're doing on our Lexia computer programs, different components for different grade levels.
Okay. And then in phase 3, lottery round 1 is TK through 2nd. Then we do a 2nd round, and that is TK through 2nd, siblings for them. But those siblings could be in any of the grades. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So then when you do the siblings are almost guaranteed if they're not in TK through 2nd, because if there's space after phase 1 and phase 2, those siblings are getting priority before any general 3rd through 6th grader. Is that accurate?
They could be a 3rd through 6th grade general also. Right.
But that wouldn't happen until lottery round 3.
So yes, they get priority. They would be the 2nd round. So yes, my sibling got in, and now I get to be the 2nd round rather than going to a general lottery with a different family.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
So big picture though, the state gave this to us, said figure it out, and we'll tell you what the rules are later, and we're a year later, right? And so we've sat down and built this structure. It will evolve over time. We have to hit the unduplicated kids. That's the priority. And then the interest, and you have to anticipate, is there going to be interest from the general population that just swallows up the kids that need it the most? So that's why we added the low performing. And then the lottery thing is going to come down to really 2 factors, and you've done a good job of explaining the process, but the aides, turnover with the aides, where the interest is coming at an individual school site. But we came up with this because we had to come up with something and have a structure. I would predict 2 years from now, as long as ELAP's being funded, that this structure could evolve. But this was what we need to put something in play for a while.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Don't take my questions as me saying this is a flawed process, right? So I just want to get clarification, understand it. I think this process seems to make sense to me, right? It focuses on the students that we want to support more than at least initially, and then you get to the other students. The last question I had is, what is the actual lottery? Is it a number generator for Excel? Like what is actually being done in the lottery?
Dr. Faubert, what is the actual lottery? If you'd like to come up and answer that, he mans the lottery.
He got his doctorate in this area.
Doctorate in lotteries. So we use a random number generator. We use the Google random number generator. Every student just gets assigned a random number, and then we run that generator. And if the number is called up, then that person gets in. And then
it's almost like jury duty.
It's almost like jury duty. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And if I may summarize the ELAP program from the state, they came up with a concept, told us, you have to do this, figure out how you're going to do it, and then we'll come back and tell you, no, you're doing it wrong.
Well, I was just going to say that the state, seemed to encourage people to use outside businesses, and it was in that template, I believe that was the thing. But I feel like the work that our district has done is more efficient financially and more actually enriching for our students. So I just want to say, if the state comes back and says we're doing it wrong, they have a problem.
Can I ask a general question? Since we have the 3 phases, and in phase 3 all the way down to lottery round 4, have we ever gotten down to that far? Do we generally so we have more interest than we can actually accommodate?
Yes, we have far more interest.
Okay.
We try the goals for increasing unduplicated student enrollment is because we want to reach out multiple times. In fact, over these phases, we continue communicating back. Hey, you didn't sign up yet. Are you sure you don't want in? Because it's our obligation, even during the school year, if a student expresses interest in the program mid-year and they're an unduplicated student, in the middle of the year, if we're starting backfill spots, unduplicated students by law have to receive those spots before we go back to a general student population or even a low performing student. Those unduplicated students, which are foster, homeless, EL, and low income students, those spots are for those students. And if they show up on our interest list, they skip the line and get it first.
How many students? So my son got a spot, but it was like 3 days before school started, right? So how many of the students, except get notified on April 28th, say yes, I'm going to show up, and then once a week before school or something, they say, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. Is that a small number? Is it sizable?
It's pretty significant. We have a lot of turnover, especially at the beginning of a school year. I think once the school year gets started and the students get used to the program, it's pretty stationary for the rest of the year. But there are times in the year, especially like Heather said, is that the upper grade kids are the ones that start dropping off because they start getting older. Those 6th graders don't want to be there. They can walk home and be on their own and things like that. But for the most part, our TK through 3, especially, it's when you get into the upper grade 4, 5, 6, where students are kind of dropping off the list, and we're looking to backfill with those kids. Now, there is a significant list right now for this year's program. Hundreds of people are waiting to get in, and they're
for the current year.
Right now, yeah, and we're required to keep that interest list open throughout the year. We can't turn it off. So they're continually, calling us and saying, "Hey, can I get into this program?" And the answer is, you can express your interest in the program. It's full right now. It's not likely that you'll get in, but absolutely show your interest.
Can I get some clarification on the funding? Because we have about 950 unduplicated students, but we have funding to cover like less than half of those students. So the state basically created a program and they said they want to support unduplicated students, but they're banking on the fact that not all non-duplicated students would want to be part of it. But if they did, we wouldn't even be able to serve all of our. Is that accurate of how they funded this?
Yes. I guess as a quick answer, yes.
Okay.
Are we required to support every unduplicated that wants to?
No. And do you know the requirements on it?
Yeah. So the requirement is that we have to offer the program, and we only have to offer it up to the point where we have the funding to do so. The state hasn't indicated that it's not one of those unfunded mandates that you have to provide it for everyone. It is a mandate that if you take the money, and again, our district actually doesn't have to offer an ELOP program anymore. This last year, they changed that to, if you want to offer it, you can continue to offer it. But if you don't want to, we'll take the funding away from you. And so our decision obviously has been to support the kids that need it the most and run the program. But if every single unduplicated kid expressed an interest, you're right, we don't have money to fund that entire program. We would fund it to the point where we could. The state also says that, you can only run a program that you can staff, right? So if we weren't able to find the number of staff, our community's been great. There's a lot of people who have applied for these positions. They're part-time. It's easy for parents to have these part-time positions. But if we weren't able to hire the number of people that we needed, we would just run a program the size that we're able to run.
Do we have a priority set up in the event that more unduplicated kids want into the program than there's room for?
Part of the issue we have with ELOP right now is I recognize we do have people who are applying for jobs, but it is difficult for us to get staff to take on these jobs. In addition to that, many of our employees that's their first job ever. And they are thinking that it's a great 2-hour job until they get in a classroom with children. So 2:30 on a Thursday with 15 5-year-olds, okay? So, it's not as easy as people think, and I was a kindergarten teacher, so I'm speaking from experience. So with all, joking aside, right, we have to look, the state says it can be 1 to 20, but these are not credentialed teachers. They're people newly in the workforce with children. And so we can't staff that class for the safety of the students and the teacher at 20 to 1. That's just not doable. So those are some of the restrictions that we have. We also can't find subs. If someone calls in sick and we have to cover this class, how do we do that? So we need to be able to adapt in the moment. We can't say, okay, Wickland, you're down. You can come over to Hanson, because also many of these aides don't drive. So it's not an option for them to say, okay, I can go to another site. So there's some intricacies to the program that we have to adapt within a school site or within the ability of the staffing that really limits some of our flexibility that otherwise you would think we could grow it in different ways. But we're really limited with the staffing and some of those nuances.
Are we allowed to charge for the program?
We are allowed to charge.
So, okay.
Even unduplicated students, or just those who aren't? Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear.
Other than, there's a sliding scale based on income.
We're going to stay in the space of where we're at, though. Public education, free public education right now we've got a goal of 500 kids approximately and 50 aides to make it work. Because there's a slippery slope into privatizing and daycare providing with the inabilities to staff at a level of confidence consistently that would be very difficult for us. If the board were to want to give that direction, of course, we would follow it with a smile on our face.
To get back to my question, because maybe I didn't frame it correctly, but if, say that 800 unduplicated students wanted in, and we only have 500 spots or whatever, is there a priority list? Do we prioritize the young kids? Do we prioritize The
We would
foster
likely
kids,
we would likely run a lottery in that instance, just like we do with the general population of students, just to make it fair for all the unduplicated students.
and that is acceptable to the state?
Yes, it is. Mhm. We asked that particular question when we did it the first time we did it, to say, hey, what happens if we have all these kids and we don't have space? And they said, that's a good question. You need to come up with a procedure. They didn't tell us what to do. Come up with a procedure and make sure that it's communicated, and that will be your procedure. But there's no law or ed code that states how to do that, and it would run like the lottery would.
Thank you.
Any final questions?
I just want to clarify this. So during the year, 500 is the max.
Correct.
That we can enroll. And I think during the summer, it was 420.
Yeah.
Is that the number? That's the max. And priority is given to our unduplicated. Now, when it comes to, you mentioned general students, right? So after unduplicated students, when students start enrolling, how do you identify at that point that they are, I think, low learning? What was the other category?
Low performing.
Low performing.
So we can identify based on information that the school sites provide us. If there's information we can pull from ARIES, we use MAP and DRA scores. So MAP for students in 2nd through 6th grade. DRA is our reading assessment for kinder 1st and 2nd. So we can use those two data sources. And of course, if a student comes in and doesn't have either one of those, we also take principal feedback too, if there's other ways that they know that they're struggling.
So just trying to understand it. So let's say we have 190 general students. So you go through each student's MAP score and the reports, and then categorize, okay, so 100 of them are low performing, and then comes the lottery? Is that how?
So are you asking if we get to a point where we have a certain number that we know is low performing?
No, let me try to rephrase. So 190 are the general students, right? So out of the 190, you're going to be checking on each one of their MAP score in order to figure out, okay, so 100 are low performing. Like, how does that?
I think I understand the question. So we gather the interest list. That's every student in the district. We then apply the criteria to the interest list. So the first thing we do is 1,000 people express their interest. Then we take our 950 unduplicated student list and we compare it to the kids. And then we let all those kids in first. Then if there's space available, we then apply the next criteria, which is low performing, to that same interest list, taking the kids who just got in, the unduplicated kids, and we let all of those kids in, or as many as we can. If we get to the end of the list and there's no more room in the program, that's where it ends.
Okay.
And then if we get through that whole list, then what's left over is all of the other kids who aren't low performing and they're not unduplicated. That's the rest of the list. And then those students will stay on that interest list. They don't get thrown away. They stay on the list so that if there's a drop in enrollment and we have the ability to bring some more on, then we go back to that general list. Obviously, looking at the new people always coming in to first pick off our unduplicated students first, and then go back to the lottery.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sorry, one more.
I was going to say,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think we've had a very, very healthy discussion. If we have the information we need to move forward with a vote, any other questions can maybe be directed toward Dr. Nicholas?
Sure, I can send a note.
Okay, thank you so much for your time and for answering all of our questions. At this time, I'll take a motion on item D.
Move to approve the 2025 through 2028 Expanded Learning Opportunities Program ELOP Plan.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Pombo and seconded by Trustee Modi, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I said I didn't say aye, sorry. Like aye.
5 ayes. Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Thank you. Item E, consider approval to adjourn from regular session to open the public hearing for item 1, California School Employee Association, chapter number 873, CSEA, initial proposal to LUSD, and item 2, Lammersville Unified School District's LUSD, initial proposal to CSEA. Staff report, please.
Yes. E, F, G, and H are all connected. The staff report reflects all of them. Sunshine proposal is the formal announcement to the board of the areas of negotiation in a union district negotiation process. Board approval will start that process and negotiations can begin. We did something very similar with LTA a few months ago.
Move to adjourn from regular session to open the public hearing.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Daniel, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. We are now in open public hearing. If anyone wishes to make a comment at this time, please step forward to the podium. I see no one that would like to make a comment, so I will move to G, consider approval to close the public hearing and return to regular session.
Move to close the public hearing and return to regular session.
Second.
Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Daniel, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item H, consider approval of sunshining initial collective bargaining proposal for the 2024-2025 school year. Number 1, California School Employee Association, chapter number 873, CSEA, initial proposal to LUSD. And item 2, Lammersville Unified School District's LUSD, initial proposal to CSEA. Any additional comments from the board? I will open it up to a motion.
Move to approve sunshining initial collective bargaining proposals for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
I heard trustee Pombo louder. Sorry, trustee Modi. Based on a motion by trustee Olson and a second by trustee Pombo, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item 11, information and discussion items. Item A, updated DARE graduation. Staff report?
Yeah, this is an updated DARE graduations. And again, these are subject to change, but this is the latest.
Thank you. Item B, LUSD mid-year local control and accountability plan, LCAP report.
So the first thing I want to say is that the ELOP presentation was the easy one. Assistant Superintendent Sharp's going to present some information, but I had a couple of comments that I wanted to make regarding the LCAP to kind of create context, because the LCAP has kind of had a journey and an evolution in its history. So the LCAP started in 2012 when there was a transformation of the state funding system through the local control funding formula, and it was about local control and districts making plans and explaining what they wanted to do and the funding that they were going to spend on it locally. What it has become today, 13 years later, is a categorical program that is based as a compliance document, that the district directs the county office of ed to direct us to comply. And that's what we do. The state is regularly adding steps. They are regularly making changes. These changes often impact a 3-year plan. It can throw off data. It can create some confusion. At the end of the day, their intent is to have a well-explained document, but the transformation from local control to compliance documents is point number 1 on my part. This mid-year report is a new mandate from the state. The template that we use is controlled by the state. The details are dictated by the state to the county, and the county tells us how to put the information in a manner that is approvable to the state. So the state people, the CDE people are talking to the county people, and that's the process. It's top down. Our staff, as is all school districts staff, are dutifully performing what we're being asked to do. There are significant complications when you're taking a large public document and it's shifting. It's like a big ship, and then we're being asked to do some turning. We do a good job. I think all districts are doing the best they can. If they were to ask, I would respectfully request that they stop making changes. All right, so the other thing that needs to be explained is there are contradictions in the requests from the state at times. And so these contradictions don't necessarily align with the reality on the ground. I'll give you 3 examples. In terms of qualified teachers, everyone knows there's a teacher shortage. Deputy Superintendent gave a presentation on how we try to anticipate how we're going to deal with that. So there's a teacher shortage, and the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing allows us to hire teachers without full credentials, PIPs, STIPs, probe zeros, in order to fill the classrooms. But in the LCAP, there's a ding in the data if you don't have fully credentialed people. Well, if they could produce a bunch of people that are fully credentialed, everybody would be happy to fill it. That's a contradiction. So there's a negative data point where we're asked to jump through additional hoops created by a teacher shortage. Another example, special education disproportionality. So there's a percentage of students in the general population that you are not to exceed in your special ed identification, because they don't want you saying struggling students all need to be in special ed, and that's a good thing. So our special education students who are identified, if they're long-term students in our district, meet the requirement. But we're a growth district, so we have students moving from all over the place, mostly the East Bay. The East Bay views special education identification differently. So we are being dinged because of students who are moving into our district who may not have been identified as special ed, that then affects and our data outside of our control, and they say that we're disproportionate. So we have to jump through additional hoops to explain our disproportionality. Well, the answer is more kids are coming in, a greater percentage of kids are moving into the district who are special ed than the proportion of students that we have in our population. Again, a contradiction. And then finally with discipline, and this one makes me scratch my head, and I'm just trying to point it out because it skews the impacts of the LCAP on student discipline. They have 3 metrics: elementary, K-5, middle school, 6-8, high school, 9-12. We have K-8 schools. So they measure our discipline on a metric for a K-5 school. Well, everyone knows with any common sense that 6th through 8th grade students generally are greater knucklehead behavior than there is in K-5. So we get dinged as being disproportionate when they're not measuring us apples to apples. So we have to acknowledge that and jump through additional hoops, even though it's a contradiction, or at least in this case, a failure on the state to have a metric for K-8 schools. So this presentation by Assistant Superintendent Sharp is meeting the new mandate from the state. But I also want to say that we've already presented the information to the board in November and in December with 3 executive summaries on the same data. That's here, a very brief general overview of what the LCAP is and the state priorities, a very detailed meta and micro analysis of our CASP results, and our infographic, which aligns again with the state priorities. So the purpose of the LCAP is to have districts express what their goals are and tie them to measurable outcomes and their budget expenditures. This is a good thing. And the expectation is communicate well to the community. The document that's been created over the last 13 years is way too long, way too many details, way too granular, and way too many different things shifting for it to be palatable for a general person that says, hey, how's my school district doing? We believe that the executive summary model that we've modeled here in the district is a better way to go about communicating to the public. But we will, with a smile on our face, keep communicating the mandates from the state through the county's voices. The last thing I'll say is this district analyzes our data outcomes constantly on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. But I want to explain the systems in which we do that because there's a lot of people involved. So the people who are responsible is essentially a chain of command, and everyone plays a different role at a different level, so that we can all make sure we're trying to catch the kids who are falling through the cracks, and if something's not working, we catch it and fix it. So it starts with me. I'm responsible. I am the instructional leader of the district. I have a team. Our senior staff, we have mid-level managers, we have principals, vice principals, site teacher leadership teams, grade level teams, individual teachers, and support staff. Everyone is involved in the outcomes of our students. We give them data, we give them tools, we give them professional development. They tell us what's working, what's not working, and most importantly, they apply to the best of their ability the tools, and the kids tell us how they're doing with the tools. And the way we talk about it is we have a system. We have a cabinet system that I run, a pre-cabinet system that the deputy superintendent runs. We have a council of directors that the assistant superintendents run with our mid-level managers. We have an administrative forum where all of our academic leaders from the school sites to the support departments to the top meet and discuss twice a month what's working and what's not working. We have site staff meetings. We have Friday professional development. We have school site council meetings, PTA and foundation meetings to share information with the community. We have board committees, and this is important because not every board makes this level of commitment. We have a district advisory committee, a district English language advisory committee, an education committee, a safety committee, a wellness committee, a policy committee, a facilities committee. And every one of those committees have one or two board members on them that are regularly engaged, and these are agendized and put out to the public for people to comment on those specific topics. We also have at our school sites different committees that represent different constituent groups, so they have a voice and a connection point to the principals of the school and what's going on in the district. So I made this little presentation because we're going to meet the mandate. The presentation has a lot of granular visual stuff, but we're going to focus in on the things that we're doing. But this presentation meets the mandate. It explains in a different way information we've already provided, and it provides an opportunity to speak to our systems again. This was my big picture version of that, and now we're going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Sharp, who's going to give a presentation about the mid-year LCAP.
Thank you again. Okay, so first I want to apologize now. This isn't my normal kind of presentation. All right, so you guys know that doesn't usually look this like you're going to see. So we're going to go over the 3 goals and how they relate to covering the priorities listed by the state. When we look at the 3 goals, we're going to be talking about annual measurable objectives, actions, and measuring and reporting those results, and then how the impact to the budget overview is affected for parents. So when putting this presentation together, I looked at the presentation in the 3 areas by goal, and I set it up so that you could see what the format looks like that you have in the mid-year LCAP that you received. So I want to walk you through what the mid-year LCAP document is you have. So if you look over on the left-hand side, that has the metric number. And then next to it is the definition of the metric. There's the baseline that started this year's LCAP. In the salmon color is going to be the current mid-year numbers. And then over on the right-hand side are the desired outcomes for the end of the LCAP period. So there's going to be a couple more years of reporting that'll happen before we hit that end year. So what I'm going to focus on this evening is going to be the metric. I'm just going to talk about what are the metrics that we focus on as a district, and as Dr. Nicholas mentioned, leadership teams to make those decisions that impact programs and budgeting and supporting kids. I'm not going to get into the weeds necessarily of the data because it is a mid-year report. However, I wanted to make sure I explained that to you. When you see these icons over on the right-hand side, you see the % student standard line instructional materials and facilities. I'm snipping off of the infographic so you know that we've already discussed it. So that's really the way that we communicated to the board and to the community early on before this required presentation this evening. We talked about it in December. Okay? So this, as I said, talks about sufficient standards material for students and facilities maintained in good repair. This huge metric is CASP, right? So this is the level that we get, the granular level that we need to get to when we're talking about our data and when we're looking at all of those individual subgroups. If you look over to the left corner in the bottom, we had that discussion in December when we talked about the infographic. So we already are looking at this granular data. In November, I also had the presentation where we talked about how our subgroups are performing to our overall in ELA. We talked about how they were performing in math, and we were talking about how they performed in science. So as Dr. Nicholas talked about, we have I believe, a more digestible way or easier way to see the information versus the mid-year LCAP. So metric 1.5 talks about the percentage of students who meet CSU UC A to G college entrance requirements. This is on the infographic as noted above. And 1.6 is the percentage of pupils who complete a career technical education pathway. So that's the complete pathway. 1.7 looks at both A to G requirements and CTE pathway completion. And then we also look at how our students are performing as far as gaining an English proficiency. As you can see down in the bottom right corner, that also is on our infographic. 1.9 looks at the percentage of English learners who meet LUSD standards to be redesignated as fluent English proficient, and 1.10% of students who pass an AP exam with a score of 3 or higher. That comes from the infographic as well. 1.11 is the percentage of 11th grade students who demonstrate college preparedness by meeting exceeding standards on the CASP exam in ELA and math. I want to explain this piece. There are portions of the CASP assessment in both ELA and math, specific questions that CASP decides if students pass these questions, then they demonstrate college preparedness. So it's different from the whole CASP test itself. Here, we talk about our attendance, chronic absenteeism, and dropout rates, all of which are on the infographic. We also have high school graduation rate that we report out on the infographic. And here, I want to take a minute to explain this one. This is a broad course of study, and the focus is on specific subgroups. So this looks at our students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, our English learners, students with disabilities, and foster youth. And we need to ensure that we're providing them above and beyond the 4 core. So we need to show that we are providing them beyond math, ELA, science, and social studies, that those particular students are having opportunities for electives, for VAPA, and CTE opportunities. And then percentage of high school students with a GPA of 3.0 or higher, and our DNF rate, and we report on GPA as well on our infographic. So when looking at our metrics, we then look at our actions, and how we allocate funds and budget for funds is based on the actions. This sheet is showing that our implementation level for all of our actions is partial implementation, our budgeted funds per action, and then where we are with expenditures at this point in the year. So looking at goal 2, it's not as comprehensive as goal 1. We have percentage of teachers appropriately assigned and fully credentialed, as Dr. Nicholas mentioned. That's the confliction with the CDE and the state. Percentage of pupils who have access to district Chromebooks and staff who have access to district devices. And then we look at the percentage of pupils with access to standard line digital tools. We currently have 3 primary tools. Guru is our 5th through 8th grade primarily for math. We also have science opportunities within Guru. Lexia is K2 for reading foundational skills, and ST Math is math support for K4. And then we have the number of teacher participants in our blended learning academy. Here we look at students who are suspended or expelled. Again, CASP comes up in this goal as well as a metric. And then here are our actions and the reporting on the budget. This is where we're looking at professional development provided to staff, monitoring of classroom instruction, student and staff wellness and safety, meeting the needs of low-income English learners, and 21st century classroom learning experiences. And lastly, goal 3, 21st century outcomes and stakeholder communication. These were required metrics by the county. So they wanted us to be able to put into numbers how our parents are engaging with our communication tools. So we have number of logins into our student information system by parents, guardians, or partners, a number of district website visits, as well as percentage of students identified as chronically absent. They find that as a stakeholder communication with getting students to school. Here is our measuring of our actions. So providing technology, our technology sustainability plan is within this goal, communication to parents and community members, and recruiting parents of students in targeted groups. The last part of this presentation involves a budget overview and changes to that. So we have our total LCFF funds, the LCFF supplemental concentration grants, what those numbers were as adopted in the budget overview for parents, and then what our mid-year update is. If you remember at the end of the year, I come back and we talk about there's some percentages if we're off that we need to speak to those if they're within a certain percentage. Any questions?
That was very concise. Very good job.
Thank you.
Can you, two questions I had. I think on one of the slides you had, I just want to better understand it. So like completing the A through G requirements, right? I'm going to assume that throughout the school year, students will complete a curriculum that then allows them to check those boxes for those requirements, right? So seeing that as, 50% or a lower number shouldn't surprise us. Is that accurate?
Right. So yes, because it would be mid-year numbers, but also, and I'd need to go back to look to see what the metric was. The A to G is going to be seniors only because that's throughout the whole year or the whole, high school time. And then the CTE pathways also is going to be your juniors and seniors because they would need to have 3 years completed. So we have many students in CTA pathways, but they've not completed it yet.
Got it. Okay. And then how should someone look at the spend? So some of the spend was like 20,000 and the budget was 150, right? And so that's basically saying mid-year through, we have not spent what we thought we were going to spend for the year. I think a lot of the numbers that were lower, some of them had that kind of ratio. How should someone interpret that?
Yes, good question. It's really based on the recs we have that have come in at this point. And we know that there's still recs coming in. It's still only February. So there's still spending that's taking place that will go on through the end of the year. So those numbers will update every day. Like since we've submitted this, they've already changed.
Okay. So the cutting edge technology one, I think was like 20 out of 80 or something like that. That's not to say that we're not spending money on technology for our students and so forth. Correct.
It's not going to be outlined to say that we divide 80,000 or whatever it might be equally by months. There's going to be certain months where we'll spend it separately from different months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. So first of all, thank you for keeping it short and concise, as Preston mentioned, because I went through this attachment. I think it took me a couple of hours. So thank you so much. My question would be, what you presented as part of the, the presentation, does the data match what I'm looking at as an attachment to the board agenda?
Yes. Sorry. So you're asking the mid-year that you have. I condensed some of the information to fit it on a screen. So for instance, socioeconomically disadvantaged, I abbreviated that to shrink it down for my presentation. So it's not going to be exact. Mm-hmm. Also, when CASP was repeated, I did not repeat all of the CASP stuff. I put the subgroups, but I didn't put the data. Okay. So in the metrics are going to be identical, but what your document is, no, it is not going to match that because I think your document was 32 pages.
Yep. It's a 32-page document. The one thing that struck me when I was going through this, and I think this is what I was looking for, and it did not match, was the goal 2.3 under goal 2, like expected annual measurable objectives. And in the attachment that I'm seeing, it struck me because it says that Lexia was not available. 2.3, not
Can you
the-
say what page? I have your actual, the document. here.
17, page 17.
Or just the data is not available.
So we didn't report on that till the end of the year.
Okay, whereas here, I think in the presentation that you showed, it said 100%.
I can go back and look at that.
Yeah.
So
that I was just looking, and that really struck me. So I wanted to. It was one of my questions that I noted down. But then I saw that all the three were 100% when you presented. So I just wanted to make sure if it was updated later or when this is the correct. So
right.
yeah.
So those Lexia is clever rostered. So we can say that it is 100%. So if I would say then it should have been 100% on that. But to say until the end of the year to say that every student was in it. But it's clever rostered means that every night, whoever is in our system, automatically those students are going to get certain things in our system, which would mean every kindergarten through second grade student is going to have Lexia.
Okay, so should it stay not available here, or
It
should
should.
be
I'm not
updated?
sure. I would need to check to see why that was put in there.
Okay.
I don't know why that would have been.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah,
the clarification.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. Again,
You are
great
welcome.
job. And I know that that's logistically cumbersome, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 12, calendar. Item A, Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 is the next regular governing board meeting at 7 o'clock here in the district office boardroom. Item B, Thursday, March 6th, 2025 is the education committee meeting at 6:30 at the Professional Development Center. And item C, Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 is the district parent advisory committee at 6 p.m. in the Professional Development Center. In a moment, we will adjourn to closed session where we will discuss the following. Item A, public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, Government Code Section 54957. Item B, consider approval of long-term leave of absence for certificated employee number 130391 from 1/23/25 to 5/31/25. And item C, conference with real property negotiators.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Pombo and seconded by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. We are now adjourned to closed session at 9:21 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for being here.